Okay. Two components. Geopolitical economic component, cosmopolitan cultural component. We know from Steve Bannon, who is the only real coherent speaker, he's the only one that really gives any sense to an otherwise fairly nonsensical picture. Greenland, Panama Canal, he's on record about that. Greenland, Panama Canal. So, regions, what is the term? Defensive regionalism, something. Defensive spheres. Defensive against what? There's a lot of discussion about supply chains. And shipping routes. There is discussion about the role the United States must actively play in order to maintain the global economic system as it is, in terms of, I don't know, maritime policing. Commentary about the Suez Canal, or Strait of Malacca. That's what? Somewhere Indochina. Is that a word? Indochina. And we note some common ground over the recent years about certain dimensions of the economic theories showing overlap. There's a tremendous focus, of course, on the gutting of the American middle class. And the picture of how that happened, I don't know. It seems fairly straightforward. It's cheaper to make shit outside the United States, so wherever wherever there was a factory sitting in the United States, now it's post-industrial wasteland. I don't know what the industrial policy was in the 1980s. Of course, we're going to blame pre-Reagan phenomena. We're going to blame pre-Reagan phenomena for the gutting of the middle class. And we're not gonna blame Reaganism, Thatcherism. I suppose that these arguments are easily put to rest. If you're a card carrying disciple of Steve Bannon, you can put arguments like this to rest. I would imagine you can defend Reagan fairly well across the board. I'm not the specialist that can do it. But the cultural question is quite profound. Because, okay, here's an idea, and this is a very I think it's significant. See, if you put someone in front of me who speaks in a way that I find favor with, and then you tell me, well, what do you think if that person leads the society? I'll think, oh yeah, well that person's okay, because I have some familiarity with the way. Or I think. Let's say that I'm under the illusion that I have some familiarity with the way that this person thinks. Maybe I don't. For example, maybe I hypothetically, let's say somebody listens to what's a good example? I want it to be a good example, but not be provocative. It's a little bit hard. It should probably be old example, something that somebody doesn't know. Let's say it's Governor Jerry Brown. Let's say it's Governor Jerry Brown today, and let's say he's got a bunch of woke policies, and he is not doesn't speak in hostile ways to certain groups of immigrants and so on. In other words, all of the categories of political correctness, or let's just say the manners that your mother taught you, are in force. So if you identify with Jerry Brown, Governor Jerry Brown, I mean, in other words, that you're a similar person to him. You feel like you imagine that you are a similar person to him. You're going to be much less skittish about the histrionic limits of the discourse. If Jerry Brown starts doing crazy stuff, let's say Jerry Brown starts building prison camps to jail his political opposition. Now, you can say, well, yeah, it's not a good look, but reshoring the defensive regionalism is going to take a while. So it's worth the pain. Nobody likes to see the people get locked up and everything, but it's all part of the reshoring process. And part of the I mean, now I'm mixing arguments and everything. I'm sorry, I'm becoming sloppy. I mean, okay, here, just make the thought experiment just the plain, simple one that we've heard over the past days. Flip Minnesota. So that ICE, let's suppose ICE is an agency that's run by the Democrats, and they are persecuting GOP or whoever it is, and they're saying stuff about you hand over your voting rolls too, and we'll get out if you hand over your voting rolls. And by the way, we're gonna raid your voting headquarters with Tulsi Gabbard. Okay, flip it. What has this to do with reshoring the supply chains and the middle class? And nothing. It's just the proposition is to stay in power long enough to implement the reshoring of the defensive regionalism, right? That would be the alibi or the excuse. But the point that I wanted to make about identification is that you identify with a leader, then you're less afraid of them. I mean, that's the point. You identify with a leader, you're less afraid of them because you feel like they're less capable of surprising you than other people might reckon. I mean, somebody looks at Obama, somebody born and raised in Akron, let's say, somebody born and raised in Akron, Ohio, from a lineage, a particular family lineage, right? Involved in manufacturing, right? The real backbone of the country, right? And you see this guy, this clown, who drifts around the world. We don't really even have faith about where he was born, etc., etc. And then he's bringing in all of these cosmopolitan ideas, and our lineage is fucked, and our tradition is fucked. The backbone of the country is fucked. And then this guy who spent 2 years in Indonesia, right? So when you look at him, and he's got fancy education and everything, and you see that he's worked the system to his own advantage in ways that people that were geographically rooted in a way that Obama was not. You're geographically rooted, you pay the price, right? And then you look at him up there and you say, oh, good for you. And you feel umbrage. You feel umbrage, of course, who wouldn't? I feel umbrage. I feel umbrage for lineages, for tradition. Techne, craft, skill, the craftsman. In the mythological story of Icarus and Daedalus, you have two parts. Daedalus is the moderate. Daedalus is the father. He's the craftsman, and he is the cautionary tale. He warns, don't fly too high. Of course, Icarus is I should do what's rock and roll, motherfucker! Icarus. Okay. It just so happens that this economic component comes with illiteracy. Well, you can say, oh yeah, well, what kind of books are you talking about anyway? I mean, I can tell you I can teach you how to disassemble a car and reassemble it. I don't need a book. Right? So there are regimes of knowledge that come with their own respect. I mean, this is, I think, quite a big part of the umbrage, is that traditions are being shit on. And we, Americans, we forget our manners because we get wound up in our own self-identity and our own self-expression. My voice, right? We forget to mind our manners. I wonder if all of this shit that we're suffering through can just be fixed by a fucking mind your manners, dude. I mean, do you remember how your mother taught you how to behave? That. So when I see actual theorists coming from MAGA, Steve Bannon, or I don't know if Yarvin, I don't know as well as I should, I guess. Anyway, and you hear economic policies, and you hear some overlap between, say, Bernie Sanders or whatever, And then we think, wait a second, working class, and we agree about that. And then we also agree that one thing is absolutely across the board we can guarantee is we can't guarantee, but we understand is there's something fishy about people that are just raking in billions, right? And so, okay, we can look at POTUS and say, okay, well, I suppose the argument from Bannon's perspective is it's a necessary evil, because you bring the big judgments in, you making the big judgments that can shift toward the new strategy, and the price you have to pay is a National Review type argument, PJ O'Rourke type argument. It's a necessary evil, rich people. Look, bring literacy back. How about that? Were we ever literate? Forget bringing it back. Forget going back. We don't need to go back to anything. Why don't we get fucking literate? Literate. So we actually can all understand what we're all talking about, and we're not afraid to listen to each other either. See, we have what is Minneapolis and every locale, and martyrs. Now we have martyrs. Renee Good, martyr. We have Alex Preddy, martyr. We have a populace that is invigorated, but we don't know how to talk to each other because we're dumb shits. We're illiterate. I'm not so literate. I mean, I myself am not so literate. Half my report cards say F on them. I struggled my whole life, right? Yeah, the education system's fucking broken because nobody can see that I have a brain. How many people in the United States has this education system completely fucked over, right? We can all learn in our own way. We have to pay attention to each other. We have to feel comfortable arguing with each other. We have to be very comfortable with the shame of being destroyed by somebody else's arguments. I speak from experience. Nobody's made me feel more stupid than other philosophers. And I feel like that's the way it's supposed to be done. I feel like. Well, that's just me. That's my opinion. On the one hand, things look very chaotic and fucked up. But on the other hand, Steve Bannon's got a theory of Greenland to Panama. And I've got a theory of Christian atheism plus Emily Post, Mind Your Manners. Basically, and read a fucking book. So then if you can reconcile the two views, somehow it all goes back to normal, right? Voila. Yeah! Which one is which? There's this, and then